first time, but that's it.
I want you to go ahead and say it out. Because a listener would see what's the connection being made? Let's unpack the metaphor. A metaphor has two sides. So when we say foot of the mountain, what are the two sides of the metaphor?
Oh, the manifest, latent.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the manifest and the latent.
Okay. So they would need to see actually like the base of a mountain.
Right, and it's what's funny is in a dead metaphor, it's the latent meaning that's left, and the original manifest meaning is the one that people are forgetting. Okay, right? If we take foot of the mountain, well, what's the literal meaning of foot?
They'll be thinking about the lower part of the mountain.
This
Bottom part.
Okay, so so the literal meaning of foot of the mountain is that imagining that thing we have on the bottom of our legs that has 5 toes. Okay, what's fun is if you were to draw it, you could have like a mountain. There's my drawing of foot of the mountain. Everybody see it? Okay, so the reason, so it would be treating the first time because the listener would see what? The relationship between what? You said base of the mountain, right? Jaime?
Yes.
And a what? Come on, folks.
A foot.
A foot. A human foot. Let me put okay. And so, but over time, and let's use our language here. What do we forget? We forget. Do we forget the latent or the manifest meaning? Which meaning? Which meaning dies?
The manifest.
The manifest. Over time, the manifest meaning dies. And here you might even put it in quotes, even though, dies for the listener, just to remind us that we're kind of picking up on for the listener. And we no longer think, and when we hear, I know I'm doing too much of the work here, but just to show you how to unpack something, when we hear foot of the mountain, what do we not think about anymore?
The foot.
Foot, right. And it just means the same thing as base, right? It just means base. We no longer think of a foot. And we can say that about a lot of things, right? And so do you all see what I did? Okay, and notice how much got written, by the way, in just explaining, first of all, what Roger Brown means. Okay, let's look at what we did here. First, we introduced the quote by giving a very brief summary of that, at least that part of the essay, if not the whole essay. Then we had the quote. Then we kind of have, and in other words, that turns into explaining one of his examples, mostly in our own words. We could have quoted him some more, but instead we didn't look at the quote. Notice that none of us was looking at Roger Brown while we did this, which is good. It means we're figuring out what he means on our own, and we're putting it in our own words. You might double check to make sure you didn't accidentally, quote him. But this is what we mean by we're figuring it out on our own, and we're illustrating it for our reader. You are teaching your reader, and you have to unpack the thing. I think sometimes, writers think, well, Dr. Dan understands this, or, but what happens is when you have to explain it in detail, often you'll come across things and you realize, well, actually, it's more complicated and more interesting than I thought, and there's some interesting things to talk about here. But you can't do that if you don't first work it out. This is what's kind of fascinating about teaching. Like, I was having this experience the other day I was in my tutor training class, and one of the students did a presentation on how to teach children in like grade school principles of multiplication. And most of us understand multiplication now so quickly that if we were asked to explain it, we would just go, well, 3 times 5 is 15 or whatever. And we almost don't know what to do. But if you explain it to a child, you have to go, well, let's imagine you had three apples. Now let's imagine we had 5 sets of 3 apples. Let's draw those. And you have to draw that. And you're digging deep back into the underlying principle behind multiplication, and in a way that deepens your own understanding of the process. And it's the same here. And when that happens, then you'll see other things to write about. I'm not saying we have that much here, but okay. So now let's tie that into some of the poems. So what is a poem that you could talk about that what Roger Brown here, Harriet, would tie into? What's one of the poems you're writing about?
Let me see.
Or anybody. Do we have any poems with dead metaphors in them? Or, yeah.
I wrote about money.
Okay, that's a great one. Yes. So, in fact, I had an exercise designed for you guys to do that. I'll say, by the way, that some of the poems in the bonus poetry anthology, towards the end especially, they might be more challenging as far as finding metaphors or talking about that. But if you're interested in those, go for it, and we'll see what you come up with. But so if we all look at money, I've got it some here. Let's see, let me find it. There we go. Okay, so if we go to money. I should be playing Pink Floyd now. Let's see. Let me, if I can get these side by side, kind of. Okay. So how are we doing on time? 10:32. Okay, so at least let's see if we can get this sort of like this paragraph written, or at least this next paragraph. Okay, so can you see that, Harriet?
Yes, I see it.
Go ahead and read it.
Oh. Money, okay, money. The long green, cash, stash, rhino, jack, or just plain dough. Chalk it up, fork it over, shell it out. Watch it burn holes through pockets. To be made of it, to have it, to burn. Greenbacks, double eagles, mega bucks, and Jenny Mays. It greases the palm, feathers a nest, holds heads above water, makes both ends meet. Money breeds money, gathering interest, compounding daily, always in circulation. Money. You don't know where it's been, but you put it where your mouth is. And it talks. I was cracking up when I read that. I thought that was so
That's a good one. Yeah, you don't know where. And what he's doing there is he's taking 2 different things we say about money and putting them together to create like a new image of people stuffing money.
Right. It was so funny.
Yeah. So, okay. So do we see any dead metaphors in there? Now, some of those, by the way, I don't even know. Like, I don't know where rhino came. I mean, I know what a rhino is. I could try to figure it out. I didn't even know about Jack.
I didn't know Jenny Mays either. I never heard that.
I
Jenny
don't know
Mays.
about Jenny May, though. Isn't there a loan company called Jenny May? Or
No,
anyway,
that's Fannie Mae, the loan
Fannie
company.
Mae, yeah. But pick one that's kind of obvious. What's one? Let's just take the very first stanza. These are called stanzas, by the way, not paragraphs. Stanza, S-T-A-N-Z-A. Paragraphs in poetry are stanzas. So where's an obvious dead metaphor, or once we think about it, a dead metaphor there that we all know? I think maybe it's
Plain dough.
dough, right? Maybe no. Does anybody use dough anymore?
Yeah.
Maybe that's more in like some old movies, but maybe still say dough. But okay, so let's go. Let's keep writing. I don't know. Now maybe I could create a transition, but let's not worry about the transition. Let's just go. We'll create the transition later. What can we say in the poem "Money"? Dana Joy.